Good morning, class. This is Father Kilian speaking, and Brother Damien is here with me. We're going to try to wrap things up a little bit this morning and give you a sense of the final exam that we have sent to you. And as you look at the questions of the exam, for example, everyone has to answer the first question. It's a very general question. It's a very personal question. It deals with what's going on at the moment, and then you have a choice of two of the following three questions. The question that deals with the book of Exodus or the book of Revelation, it's your choice. And the same thing, the book of Job is another option that you have. And finally, with the stories of Flannery O'Connor. So you're going to, everyone in the class is going to answer the first question, that very general question about what's happening with you today, your experience on this pandemic, and then you have a choice of two of the following three questions. It's going to be important as you write the exam, and the final exam will be due on the 8th of May at 12 noon. So that gives you quite a bit of time to give thought to the questions and also to be able to write your essay, your response carefully and thoughtfully. I would hope that you, as you give thought to the exam questions, that you take your time and not try to rush the exam itself, but give a lot of thought to it, and at the same time, especially dealing with the book of Exodus or the book of Revelation, I think it's important to keep in mind, as I try to remind you from time again, is that we're not reading history. The Bible is not a historical record of factual events, but rather it is a theological interpretation of history. And so it's really important as you reflect on the questions that are being asked, what's really happening here, what's being expressed. And the same thing with the Flannery O'Connor stories. What seems to be at the base of so many of her stories is her own fundamental sort of spirituality and theology. And that essential notion is that God, as she understands God, the deity, gives every person this wonderful gift of grace. And it's a matter of one accepting it or rejecting it. And what the gift of grace does for the individual is to open up that individual's mind and heart and to understand themselves more deeply and more realistically. And it also points up one's need for change once we've been illumined by the gift of grace and realize our human frailty and our weaknesses and how important it is to try it that we grow in grace and strength and love of oneself and of one's neighbor as well. So please do give as much thought to your responses carefully. Don't try to just sit down at the last minute and start writing, but to write well and to write thoughtfully is going to really be important. One of the questions that always comes up, I think, is the question of length of your paper, of your responses to each of these questions that you're facing. And I would think, certainly in your the more personal, the first question you've asked about how things are going for you at the moment, and the same thing with the questions from the Hebrew Scripture and from the New Testament. The book of Job, and certainly the Flannery O'Connor question, I would think that you'd be able to respond comfortably within about 2 pages double spaced. And then if it goes to 2.5 pages, that's fine too. But I would think 2 pages would be a reasonable length for your for each of your responses. And once again, I would encourage you to give a lot of thought before you start writing. Think about the question, and if you have any concern or any additional questions that you might have about what's being asked, don't hesitate to email me, and I'll be more than happy to clarify if clarification is needed.
You'll be able to turn in your final exams if you go to Moodle, and then at the top of the class page in Moodle, there will be a link, and you'll be able to deposit your final exam paper in there. Please answer all of the questions in one document, whether it's a Word document or it's a Google Docs document, a PDF, whatever it is that you guys are using. Turn it in a single document. And deposit it in there. And if for some reason you're unable to access Moodle, you've been locked out or something, you can always, as a last resort, email your final exam to Father Kilian or to myself or to both of us to be really sure. And again, in one document. And that's how you'll be able to turn it in. Again, it will be due on noon of Friday of finals week. That's May 8th. Now, when we were talking last week about Flannery O'Connor and especially the character Ruby Turpin, I was reminded of something I saw last summer that really demonstrates this vision that Ruby Turpin has at the end of the story. So last summer I went down to Louisiana. I was just about an hour north of New Orleans, where I spent part of my childhood. And there's an abbey, St. Joseph's Abbey. They're a Benedictine abbey. They're kind of a brother or cousin house to us, in a way, I guess, in a different family of Benedictine abbeys. And, well, at any rate, at the front of their church, there's this really interesting mural that's done by a Benedictine of some fame, from the 1950s, named Dom Gregory DeWitt. Was he Brother Gregory or Father Gregory? I don't actually know. He's Brother Gregory DeWitt, and he's an artist of some repute. But he did this really fascinating mural at the front of the Abbey Church at St. Joseph's Abbey that really shows this vision, I think, that Flannery O'Connor also had, or at least she gave to Ruby Turpin. And this mural, which you're looking at on screen right now, shows all of these people heading towards Jesus at the center of the mural. Everybody's going home is kind of the theme of the mural. Everybody's finding their way back to Jesus. And at the head of the line, you see a variety of people that kind of shows what Ruby Turpin saw. There's a disabled boy who's walking forward with crutches. I think there's another child in line somewhere. He's also got kind of an injured leg. And then there's also an African American at the head of the line. There's a whole variety of people, nuns and brothers and family members, children. There's a dog somewhere in the back. I love that. But that was what immediately came to mind when we were talking about Ruby Turpin last week.
Yeah, and you notice there are no warthogs in the collection as well.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks, brother, for that. That's great. It's a wonderful image, and it really sort of reflects Ruby Turpin's image as she visions all of the people, all of the everybody embraced by God's love, heading toward their heavenly realm. So it's great. I hope you'll enjoy looking at that. So, okay, I think that's, so you've got the assignment, and once again, I just remind you, please take your time in working with it, and be sure you put it into good grammatical form. That's really important, even though this isn't an English class, but it's such an important aspect of your education and your intelligence to be able to express yourself clearly and distinctly. With a clear thesis in your paper. That's so important. And do the best you can. And I want to also mention that I received your Flannery O'Connor revelation responses, and I'm going to just start reading those now. And I'll have them all. I'll have responses to you if need be. So thank you for turning those in. And good luck on the exams, and so we just wanted to thank you so much for your participation, and we so appreciated the responses and the reflections that you sent back to us. They're really important. Anything else?
No, this isn't going to be the last time you hear from us.
Yeah.
We'll have one more message, one more farewell message to you on finals week after we've received all of the final exams. So you can look forward to that. But other than that, this is the last class, if you want to call it a class, for this week, for this semester.
Yeah.
So
again, thanks once again, and good luck on all of your exams, and I hope all of you do very well. And again, thanks for your participation, and we'll be back to you again before the final. We'll have a final class coming up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Bye bye.